Many of us were disappointed that Babbel decided to shut down their live class program back in June of this year. I was using their live classes as a student to practice my French, and I personally loved the format. So in this video, I'll go over why I think the best alternative to continue learning in the same way is to use Lingoda. And the reason why I'm so passionate about recommending Lingoda and why I'm so disappointed in Babbel shutting down their live classes is because I believe that humanity and real human connection is the most important element of learning a language. And it's usually the goal for anyone learning a language, which is to be able to connect with more real people. And it's also effective. In my experience learning French quickly from scratch in just a few years, I found that the methods that helped me the most were the ones that involved real teachers. And if you want to learn a language online with real teachers, there really are only a few methods available, so it was sad to see Babbel Live go. And I think even more disappointing is that they have since been rolling out their AI conversation partner, or sometimes I see it in their ads as being referred to as Babbel Speak. So essentially, they're removing any humanity from their language learning method, and the new direction that they're choosing to focus on doesn't involve real teachers. And what was even more disappointing, and in retrospect actually aligns with this kind of disregard for real people, is that there was so much uncertainty amongst the teachers and the students about the future of the program before they even announced that it was going to shut down. There was very little communication from Babbel about the situation and the timing, and instead I just remember some of the features on the website were just being removed or were disappearing. And I would attend my classes and no one really knew what was happening. The teachers were understandably confused about their jobs, and the other students were also confused. And I was just disappointed that something that I was really enjoying had turned into a bad experience. And also because prior to it shutting down, it was one of the few well-organized and effective and reputable methods for learning a language online with real, reliable teachers. But in the end, Babbel Live got shut down, and I've seen that there are a lot of other companies that are trying to fill that void with AI. And like I said, that even Babbel is also trying to fill it with their own AI tool. And I think that this relates to an even bigger conversation about the use of AI for teaching something as personal as learning a language. I've posted a whole video about why I think AI is not effective for actually learning and understanding and speaking a language in the real world, which I will link here and in the description. But for a condensed version, I think that when you try to use AI to learn a language, there is just much less motivation and less accountability, and there's less real-world context. And you're also missing this crucial element of emotion, which is essential for your long-term memory. The online methods that I love to recommend for learning a language with a real teacher are Preply and Lingoda, but in this video I'll be discussing Lingoda because it really is the best alternative to Babbel Live's format. And if you're here because you're looking for an alternative to Babbel Live, then you're in the right place. So first I'll go over why Lingoda is my top choice, and then I'll also go over what I observed to have possibly been the reasons why Babbel Live shut down and how Lingoda was already doing these things better. So what is Lingoda? It is an online platform that offers small group classes for French, Spanish, English, German, and Italian. They have a set curriculum, and once you're subscribed, you can preview the subject and the lesson material and sign up for any class that sounds interesting to you. Classes are each about an hour long, and there's up to 6 students in any given class, so there's a nice balance between getting attention from your teacher and also interacting with other students at your same level. In my experience, I found Lingoda's platform to be intuitive and easy to navigate, and I thought that their lessons were well structured and interesting and informative. I also thought that Lingoda's teachers were professional and that my classmates were generally all thoughtful and respectful and also motivated, which just made it a really nice learning environment. One major benefit that Lingoda offers for new students, which Babbel Live never offered, is a learning challenge, which Lingoda calls their sprint or their super sprint. Students who register for this challenge and complete it successfully are given a big reward, which is 50% of their money back in the form of cash or 100% of their money back in the form of credits to continue using on Lingoda. In order to qualify, Sprint students need to attend 30 classes in 60 days or 60 classes in 60 days for the Super Sprint. I successfully completed the sprint earlier this year, and I won my reward of 50% cash back, and I thought it was a great experience. But beyond just improving my French really quickly and efficiently, I think that this challenge makes the whole Lingoda experience better for everyone, whether you are participating in a sprint or not. Because in addition to the students that choose to participate in the sprint, there are also many students that use Lingoda on their own schedule and at their own pace with just a regular subscription. But because there are these cohorts of super motivated sprint students that are constantly present on the platform, I feel like it encourages participation and attendance and retention for everybody. And I also think that it just contributes to a higher morale across the platform. So next, I also wanted to compare some of the great features of Lingoda with the way that Babbel Live was structured, and which I think ultimately led them to being shut down. So Babbel eventually did make an announcement on their LinkedIn that said that they had shut down their live classes because there were not enough users for it to be sustainable for them. But in my experience and in my conversations with other Babbel Live students, I think what was actually unsustainable was their pricing structure. Babbel Live was $99 a month for unlimited access to all of their classes, which for me as a student was really appealing and relatively affordable compared to other methods. But I had spoken to some other students who had shared with me that sometimes they were taking as many as 5 classes a day to really lower their average cost per class and to squeeze as much out of their subscription as possible, which was certain to become unsustainable for Babbel if they couldn't get enough new students to sign up. On the other hand, Lingoda offers subscriptions for a certain number of classes per month, and the more classes you subscribe to, the lower the cost is per class. I think right now the pricing is around 5 classes a month for $70, 12 classes a month for $140, and 24 classes a month for $240. They also offer promotional discounts throughout the year, and you can also use my discount code on top of that for even more savings. And I'll be sure to link that in the description below for you. Something else that Lingoda does better than Babbel Live ever did was the way that classes are scheduled. On Lingoda, students can join any class that's already on the schedule as long as it still has space available, or they can request a specific subject for a specific date and time as long as it's more than 7 days in the future, and then a teacher will be assigned. So that way, teachers were only assigned where there was demand. It seemed that for Babbel Live, on the other hand, that the schedule was set by the teachers. And I remember that I would go through the calendar on their site and see that there were a lot of classes that no students were signed up for. So I think that there was just a total disconnect between the demand from their students and the supply from their teachers. And when you consider that their students were their revenue and that their teachers were an expense, clearly this imbalance was not going to be financially sustainable in the long run. Another thing about Babbel was that their cancellation policy may have been too lenient. Students could cancel within 24 hours with no penalty, and if they canceled within that time frame, there was a $10 charge. On the other hand, Lingoda's cancellation policy is much more strict, but I'll tell you why I think it's a good thing. So for regular Lingoda students, the cancellation window is up to 3 days before the start of the class, and for sprint students who are participating in the challenge, their cancellation window is up to 7 days before the start of the class. And for the sprint, if you cancel within 7 days, not only do you lose the credit for the class, but you're also disqualified from the whole challenge. So the stakes are high, but this is why it's a good thing. Lingoda students are really held accountable and are much more committed to the classes that they sign up for. And because of that, there's just higher attendance across the platform. And there are more students to participate, and it's just a better experience for everyone. The only downside about Lingoda, and the thing that really encouraged me to use Babbel Live in the first place, is the fact that Lingoda only offers up to B2 for French, whereas Babbel Live offered up to C1. And that really is the only reason why I don't still use Lingoda, because I already completed all of the classes at their highest level for my language. But that being said, I would gladly continue using it if they happen to offer higher levels of French in the future. I'm always curious to continue learning, and I love sharing my experience trying different methods and techniques to learn French. And I would love to hear if you know of any alternatives for learning a language online, so definitely leave me a comment below with any other methods that you've tried, and I would love to check them out. I've posted other videos about learning languages, but my channel is really about finding yourself through your hobbies and through your creative outlets, and about learning new things as an adult, like I've done with learning French. So if that sounds like you, then check out my other videos and don't forget to subscribe. And feel free to leave me a comment because I'm always happy to connect, and I will see you next time.